Hello, welcome back. As you know, I have decided that 2022, personally and here in Well, is going to be an area of focus is going to be emotional eating. And I have to do these things when they hit me, as I learn and study and hear information, and then I process it sometimes for weeks or months before then I share it kind of in my own way. So, emotional eating is something that's always been very confusing to me. I think I would say, well, if you look at the definition, emotional eating is eating out of negative emotions, right? So it's you're not an emotional eater if you eat when you're happy. That's a celebratory type of eating, and that's okay because that's a normal thing. But even then, eating to excess or to so excess where you have extra weight on your body, dozens and dozens of extra pounds, again, is not good. But emotional eating really stems from negative emotion. And it is a way to suppress or soothe something. And it could be anger, it could be stress, it could be fear, it could be, boredom is one that I don't look at it as a negative emotion, but I think that many people that I have helped over the past couple of years, and me included, would say boredom was one of those things that I sometimes, if I had time in my day or I was stressed out and I didn't have to go to something immediately next, that was made it easier for me to reach for food. Now, maybe this applies to you and maybe it doesn't, but I would eat all day long. I did not go eat big buffets. I did not do that. Years and years ago, I think you guys know, I had a lap band. I have not had it touched or messed with in 15 years because it didn't work. I didn't like it. I hated it. And I didn't have any problems, so I didn't take it out. But I learned back then, well, it's not about making your stomach smaller because they tried to make my stomach smaller, but the way it was placed, I had like GI issues, you understand? So if I leave it alone, it didn't help me lose weight. But at the same time, but that's because, it did not fix the emotional side. That's why people have gastric bypasses and or gastric sleeves or lap bands or whatever. And now there's this new thing. They're wiring people's mouths shut. I just read about it. There's a chip that clamps onto your teeth. So all you can do is have a liquid diet, and they put you on a liquid protein diet. And it's in the UK, but I just read about it. So there's but none of that is going to fix the emotional eating. If you eat if you eat when you're not hungry, and it's not a celebration, you are eating emotional eating. Some doctors think that 100% of people are emotional eaters. But at the same time, you know, how often is it an issue for you? Is it a certain emotion? Is it a certain time of day? Maybe has it, for some people it's a major life event, a major change, meaning a change to a marriage, a change to a job, a change to or a career, a change to some kind of family structure, something personal, a health diagnosis, or taking care of elderly parents. I mean, anything like that. Of course, we're all going to emotionally eat. I think too, it's even just the daily stuff in life, right? So maybe there's nothing huge in your life and your life is going pretty good for you overall, and you still feel this overall sense of anxiety or, stuff, those kind of things. Um, if you eat when you're not hungry, and if you're able to stop and check in with yourself and know you are soothing yourself, and most of the time, that's to sidestep an emotion you don't want to feel. I think that anytime we reach for food, we should pay attention to the emotion we feel when we reach for it. We reach for food all day and we never are present to go, why am I doing this? Maybe that could be just a new habit that we learn to do, is that every time that we go to reach for food, what's the emotion behind this? Some people would say, well, is hunger actually emotion? Well, I mean, physical hunger, some people have said that. But we all know when we're hungry. I mean, you get that deep growl, or you're like, wow, it's been 6 or 8 hours since I ate, or it's 11 in the morning and I hadn't eaten since 7 o'clock last night. Like, wow, I feel that. So then when you go to reach, you are feeling nothing at that point but I'm hungry, and maybe it is celebratory because you're like, I waited now and I'm hungry. And that's okay too. But if you're reaching for food and you're truly not hungry, and it doesn't matter what it is, even if it's grapes, even if it's fruit or something healthy, if I'm reaching for it, my stomach's not growling. We have normalized eating all the time when people aren't physically hungry. We've normalized it. And now we're normalizing obesity. And, I come from a place of I exercise a lot, I eat healthy, I don't overindulge, and it's so easy for me to put on 10 or 15 pounds overnight too, it seems like, right? So I know how little we have to eat to maintain what the doctors and the guidelines and your waist below 35 inches. I mean, I know what needs to go into that now as a 55-year-old woman. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. But knowing all of those things and even understanding I need really only probably 1,800 calories a day to maintain, depending on your height. I'm 5'7", and I could barely maintain consistently at about 1,800. If you're 5 feet tall, it might be 1,200. So quelling the emotional eating, we can't keep running from that. I think that even this past couple of years, there's a part of me that has been studying emotional eating and learning a lot of techniques, but at the same time, I'm running from it too. And I don't think we can run from it. I think when we reach for food, what emotion is attached to it? And I don't think it has to be awful trauma. I don't think it has to be some horrific thing going on right now. Or it can just be all day long, co-workers, issues, one little thing your husband said that didn't sit right with you, or you did something special and they didn't notice. I'm serious. We cannot live our life out of emotion. I'm going to tell you, that'll wreck your whole life. Not just your hips or your waistline. And I'm a prime example of that. I mean, getting mad at a job and responding, or getting mad at my spouse and responding, or my children, right? I mean, emotional responding. It's before we sit and before we think about it. And so many of us are so much better in that area, or more cognizant of, don't let me bite back at him right now. Let me sit on this. Or, God, I want to tell my teenager off, but I'm going to try to sit on that one. My mama calls it scars on the tongue, when you kind of are eating your emotion that way. And that's okay to suppress it that way sometimes. But if you really are reaching for food, and if you know you're not physically hungry, am I angry? Am I fearful? Am I bored? Am I sad? Am I lonely? Did somebody just say something that made me feel not enough, not worthy? You can't do it. All of those are thoughts that will lead to emotions that will turn into a behavior. So if we can stop it before it starts, we'll never have to reach for the food and think about it, right? I'm going to talk about that part on the next session. Stay tuned.